Hello, welcome back to TSC Talks. We are the podcast inspired by the condition known as Tuberous Sclerosis Complex. My name is Jill Woodworth, and I am your host. On today's episode, my guest is my business partner, co-owner of TSC Talks, mother, senior care advocate, senior care bus driver in town, and I don't know, she wears a lot of different hats and is just an amazing human being. I'm not going to talk too much about what she's going to talk about because I already intro it in the actual interview. So coming up ahead is Lisa Larson. Appreciate her doing this so much, and it kicks off our series on exceptional circumstances, what to do when the systems that you depend on don't work. She's the first in this content thread, and we'll be introducing more guests to you as we go along. So join us. And always tune in to our weekly updates every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where I come on for 15 minutes and talk about each podcast that's either playing or had just played or is coming up, share some clips, and give you some health hack tips for my own personal repertoire of cheating the system. Now, figuring out ways to insert activities, supplements, all kinds of tools and tips to make you feel healthier, improve your quality of life without breaking the bank or having to go see a doctor or another professional. So that's what we're doing on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Join us and stay tuned for more awesome content on TSC Talks. I'm going to stop talking and say take it away, Lisa.
Welcome to TSC Talks. I am here with my business partner and co-owner of TSC Talks, Lisa Larson. She has willingly agreed to participate in this interview, and when we were talking about ideas for this coming year for the podcast, we threw a lot of stuff out there, but one thing that keeps coming up, and it's kind of a general theme in the work we do here, is people that are living with extreme situations that they didn't expect, that happened unexpectedly, and they're either kind of have to think outside the box to make things work. And, I see this happening in the TSC community. I see it happening, in autism community. I see it happening. But one place that it happens all the time that we don't even think about is with the elderly. And Lisa, in the last year, has transitioned in 2020, transitioned members of her family that are older into her living space. And I've just kind of watched it from outside. And it's been a really, I've seen the challenges and the rewards, and so I thought it would be great for Lisa to come on and just talk a little bit about, what made her decide to do this, how it happened, and, kind of the process. And just so anybody out there, I think this is a common theme for a lot of people is what do we do when our parents get older and they're forced to either, have to go into I shouldn't say forced, but they have to go to I was going to say a group home, but a placement, oh my God.
Nursing home, which is like a group home. Right. Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
So anyway, so nursing home. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So thank you, Lisa, for being on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you want to just tell me, I guess, I know that you, before you moved your mom in, you wanted to downsize, and you made these plans to pack up, and you put your house on the market and all that stuff. And just to say, how much I think you care about improving situations and making things better for everybody in your family. Just so it's just something that's I'm always just inspired. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
we had hoped to downsize. We're the sandwich generation, so our kids we have one in college. We have one who is still here, but almost ready to launch, hopefully. And so my husband and I had started talking about downsizing, but my kids were not quite ready for that. And it turns out my husband wasn't either. It was really me who was ready to downsize. So we ended up deciding to stay in the house. But one of the reasons we had wanted to downsize is that financially it's been a stretch. It really has. I mean, the town we live in, taxes go up every year. It's crazy. So we kind of, once we switched directions, we kind of had to figure out, okay, well, how do we make this work financially? And in the meantime, while I was packing us and downsizing us, we had also downsized my husband's stepfather after his mom had passed away. And then my brother-in-law passed away. So we had downsized his stuff. So we had now we had cleared out our house, ready to downsize, and then suddenly had melded into other houses, into our house. And then during that time, my mom has had her own share of health issues. Her husband, she's been a full-time caregiver for her husband now for the last several years. She's 77, he's 86. So it's been a lot. So I have actually, over the last few years, spent a lot of time at their house. I had actually moved in for certain times for different reasons, because at times my mom would have physical issues that would make it so that she couldn't take care of my stepfather. And so I would move in and take care of both of them.
Right. I forgot about that.
And so then it was getting to the point where I had pretty much been a stay-at-home mom, worked here and there, but I wasn't actually working outside the home, but I was going to their house pretty much every day, all day. And we were trying to figure out, they aren't ready to go into a nursing home. They looked at assisted living. The biggest problem with assisted living was that the kitchens don't come with an oven, and my mother cooks. And that was just, so it was a deal breaker for her. Yeah, it was. That was just too much. And so we were thinking, and we just couldn't figure it out. And honest to God, one day I was in the shower. I was right first thing in the morning, and all of a sudden it was like, well, why don't they just move in here? And it literally had to have been higher power, otherworldly, because it wasn't something I had thought of. So I got out of the shower and I said, honey, I have an idea. And my husband, being like, I don't know, one of the best guys in the entire world, was actually on board with it immediately. And it kind of put all the puzzle pieces into place. It just made sense. So we talked to my mom and stepfather about it, and they liked the idea too. So, and my kids were pretty good with it, not 100%, but pretty good. And so we decided to move forward, and then COVID.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just doing the timeline. So it was like right before COVID hit. We made
the decision that they would list their house and come live here. And no sooner did we make the decision, within just a couple weeks, everything shut down.
Well, in some ways, and I'm sure you'll talk about this, but it seems like that's almost a good thing, because otherwise, if they were going through the health crises in a assisted living, you might not be able to see them.
Absolutely. I do believe all of this happened for a reason. When COVID hit, of course, it was the beginning. None of us really knew anything. I was absolutely terrified to go to their house to visit them. Right. I used to literally run in, drop stuff off, and run back out again. And then I would talk to her from outside. It was
that was
crazy.
Right at the beginning. We didn't know anything.
Right. We didn't know. I mean, they had shut everything down. All we knew is it was terrible. And basically it was like, if you're old and you get this, you will die. Yeah. Now, I mean, they're both elderly. They both have significant health issues,
Which puts them at risk.
Right. So I knew they were high risk, but not being able to see them was just torture. And my mom and I are very, very close. Sometimes maybe a little too close. We're all each other has. I had a sister. She passed away 11 years ago. I have a biological father who's not in my life. And so we're as close as we can possibly be. And luckily, my husband is very close to her too. And he has lost his parents. So he considered, that's his mom.
Family. It's family. Yeah. So, and there's no way that you could really go forward without figuring this out.
Right. So, I mean, then when we couldn't see them, it became even more like we all knew that moving in together was what we needed to do. It just kind of cemented that we were making the right decision. So we had hoped, like everyone else, we figured, okay, spring will come, everything will improve. Right. And, then it didn't so much. But so by June, my mother was like, I can't do this anymore. That's it. No matter what happens. Yep. We just have to do it.
Okay. So did they decide that they wanted to stall it a little, because, or was it just because of COVID that you couldn't?
Yeah, just COVID at the very beginning, because everything shut down. Like we all shut down too.
Yeah.
So we just put everything on hold.
Right.
So yeah, I'd say it was about June. My daughter was home. She was helping my mom start with the packing and the purging and all of the fun things. And you know, we set a target date for August 1st. And we just pushed as hard as we could. Once my daughter went back to school in the summer, I was there every day, all day. We packed, we purged, we just worked constantly. And then at the end of July, my mom had what looked like a stroke.
Oh my goodness, that's right. I forgot all about that.
It was the second time it happened. It had happened a year before that, almost exactly a year before that. She was talking and then just went limp and lost consciousness. Well, come to find out, yeah, it's terrifying. So come to find out, they think this is some sort of weird migraine thing, but it looks exactly like a stroke. So we have to treat it like that. And hasn't happened again, and we'll knock on wood. And yeah. So when that happened, we had the movers scheduled and she wanted to push things back. But for some reason, I was like, nope, we need to have you guys moved in. I said, we're going to have them move you that day and we'll finish afterwards. Not so sure that was a good idea. I don't know, but we did it. We got them in. Yeah. We needed to all be living in the same house. I mean, it was about 6 weeks after that, my mom and I moved every day. We went to the old house and moved things. And so it was a lot, but they were here.
Right.
And one of the reasons they moved here also is that my stepfather is having a very hard time with mobility. So he's moving towards a wheelchair, and that is really what is safest for him. And my house is wheelchair accessible because my husband is disabled. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to get him here quickly too, because it was getting to the point we weren't sure we were going to be able to get him in and out of their house much longer. Yeah, so we had him come in. He's had several falls, so it's still been fairly difficult, but having the entire family together has helped. And when they moved in, it had been supposed that I would be one of the full-time caretakers because I was home, but it kind of turned out that this amazing job fell into my lap. And so I'm not home being the caretaker right now, but my husband is home during the winter. And so he's the caretaker right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm incredibly blessed.
So cool how you made it work. And you did, I didn't think of that other piece, that you didn't have to make a lot of accommodations to bring Paul in. So
yeah, we were lucky in that way. We really were. So, and we're also really blessed that the four of us, the parents and my husband and I, the four of us are just determined to make this all work. So
so the motivation, you all had to be on board.
Right. And so I think that's been a huge part of it and part of it too, like we wanted to make sure my stepfather was going to be comfortable moving in. He's never had to do this before. My mom has actually lived with us at times. And we've lived with her, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but that was huge. And luckily, I think the transition has...
how's it going now?
So it's been pretty good. Most of the challenges have actually involved my kids. There are...
Those pesky things.
Yeah, like the bathroom, our main bathroom in the house has kind of been converted. And so there's a lot more stuff in it. And there's things for people who are older and more disabled. And so it's just, there are definitely things that have been an accommodation to them. And I think that it's been a little bit hard for them, but they've done pretty well.
That's a lot too, though. I mean, I guess thinking about it, as teenagers or
exactly young I think people. That if I were 19 or 23, that I probably would have had a lot to say about this.
Me too.
Honestly, I think they've been rock stars. My son gave up his room. He has his own room in a different place in the house, and that's actually working out for him. But, there's definitely been a lot. My daughter's away at school for most of the time, so that's been good. Talk to me in the summer, who knows? But for the most part, we've all really just wanted to make it work, so we've made it work. I would say the biggest challenge has been combining the households. finding room for everything.
Right.
We wanted them to bring whatever was important for them to have. So we've managed. Is my house really crowded? Yep.
It
But
sounds like, yeah, like you've been really organized throughout the process. So what's your organization? How did you coordinate all this?
Okay, as Jill knows well, I am completely anal. And
No, you're
I am
not.
and I'm a little bit OCD. So how I handled it was lists and lists and lists and lists and lists.
That's your technique.
That is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a calendar that I use for everything, and I schedule everything that I need time for on the calendar.
That's great.
And then I make to-do lists, and that's how I organize. And my mom organizes similarly, so I was able to give her lists, and
Wow.
we worked really well through it. Yeah, it's
guys
really
work well
hard
together. I mean, I think that
we do.
Didn't your mom have a business? Didn't you work with her on a business?
I did. Yeah, my first real grown-up job was working for her. Yeah, so that was, yeah, we didn't get along growing up. It's really weird at all. So it was not until I became an adult that actually we became friends. And so, but it was, and this is kind of funny, and I don't even think I've told you this, but when they moved in, one thing I noticed is there were certain times like she'd get irritated about stuff, and I'd get really upset. Like I'd start to feel like my stomach would be, and at first I was like, what the heck? It has nothing to, like, she'd be upset with her husband or something else, and I'd be taking it really, yeah. But you know what it was?
What?
It's my mom. And when I lived with my mom, I was a kid, and usually if she was annoyed, it was about me. So
it was
totally triggering like me into this childhood crap.
God.
Oh my God, it was weird. So it took a little bit of walking through and a little bit of like, okay, we're all grown-ups here.
Like, what did I do wrong? Oh my God, did I break my curfew?
Exactly. I was just like, oh my God, what did I do to make her upset? Yeah. So I've kind of worked through that, and I've had to say to her a few times, are you upset with me? And she's had to say, nope, it has nothing to do with you. So yeah, that was kind of funny. And another really funny part is my kids, both of actually, and my husband, all of them now are like, wow, we get why you are the way you are. And I don't think they're saying it completely negatively, although there is a bit of a negative component to it. But yeah, they're definitely seeing where I came from.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I don't know how they could not see, at least I know how
they get how much I am like my mom now.
Okay. So they're seeing it. Yeah. And I think I've noticed, like, my own children kind of taking more of an interest in my relationship with my mother as they get older, kind of watching to see, how we interact. Like, they're kind of suddenly aware of it. So I can see the timing on this, too. It seems like, that idea that you got in the shower or whatever was some kind of, like, epiphany, which
really and truly
to be how things happen. And then, like, Kenny being on board with it, and everything kind of seems to support the idea. And you really, I don't know, I've been really impressed, and kind of just watching to see the challenges, and I knew you'd make it work. I just know that you were determined. I felt so bad when when you downsized, or you wanted to downsize, and it just didn't work out. Like, that had to be a huge blow. But it was almost like you were preparing because you know how to rearrange.
Well, you know what though, it made it all make sense. Like,
okay.
I mean, here we are, we're with these two kids who are getting ready to fly the nest. Like, what the heck do we need this house for? Well, you know what? We need the house because we need a handicapped accessible place for them. So, I mean, I think cool. that, the universe was trying to do this, but I do believe that it all worked out for a reason. And, we're all here now. We're fairly well organized in the house. We have our own spaces.
How do you, like, routines and stuff? How did you coordinate, like, the shower? And, like, I guess what I'm getting at is, what if someone is listening and they want to, they're curious about the process, like, what are the takeaways that you...
I think, like, one of the big things that we've all figured out is that we all need our own space. Okay. So we've kind of set up our own spaces. We've all kind of I feel like we all kind of have these invisible boundaries. Like,
Really?
we gave my mom and Paul like our living room. So they have the living room, they have the bedroom, they have, all this space, and that's fine. And then we have a family room downstairs. So we have plenty of room to spread out. It's just kind of, trying to figure it out. And there are some days that we all love to be together. And there are other days where like, oh God, you go in that room, I'll go there, you go there, don't talk.
So that's but it's an important consideration though.
Absolutely.
That you have your own space. So
right. And I really try to do a lot of checking in with everyone. As you know, Jill, I'm the checker-inner. Like, are you okay? Yeah, what can we do better? Is there something bothering you that we can work on? We had our first major blow up. Gosh, I want to say it was like 2 weeks into them moving in. Yeah. My stepfather actually had been he was in the hospital. He had taken a fall, so he wasn't here. My mom was here, very stressed. We were still cleaning out the other house, and it was just a lot going on. And my son, who has his own sets of issues, I don't even remember, but he came up and he started yelling, and it was a thing. And he and my mom got into it. And when my mom and my kids fight, it just, oh my God, it's really the worst possible thing. Yeah, it's bad. And so my son ended up walking away. And my mom looked at me and goes, I'm moving out. And she goes, this is my notice. I'm moving out. And all I could think was, dude, I've spent the last few months moving you here. If you think I'm moving you anywhere, you are out of your freaking mind. I was ready to kill everybody.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I remember you told me about that.
But we walked through it. Everybody cooled down. We all talked. It was fine. And we all said, these are things that are going to come up. We just all have to talk. And since then, I have to say, there have been minor little skirmishes, but nothing major. And we are making it work, and we do kind of all have different schedules. So like the showers, we all take showers at different times. It kind of all like worked out naturally. And so it's all kind of it's flowed. Yep.
So that's just, I don't know. I love hearing this story, and it kind of made, in where everything seems like it's falling apart, you found a way to put it back together in a real organic way today. I was going to say, what's your long-term plan? Do you have one?
I mean, it could all go to hell tomorrow. I don't think it will. My stepfather has a lot of illnesses. He's not going to live forever. I wish he would, but he won't. And
you have to be realistic.
Right. I think that, we've kind of said that we're willing to have my mom with us for the rest of her life and be perfectly fine with it. I think that, we're short term here. We'll be in the house for the next few years until the kids are grown, and as long as Paul is here. And then, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what comes next. I think that I definitely don't want to take care of this big of a yard forever.
Right, that's, you've got a big old yard.
Yeah, but I'm willing to do this short term because it's really working out for everyone.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. It's, this winter, I think I'm very worried about everyone. I get to go to my job every day, which is awesome, but
I think if you didn't have that job in some
I would be a little worried.
Yeah, I think it's kind of worked out. As much as I miss having you around on the podcast, I think it's worked out the way it's supposed to, because you go nuts if you were there all the time, Lisa.
I think I would, and I think that it's kind of given the other three this new dynamic in their relationships too, so it's
have to. Yep.
Yeah, and it's, there's been some, there have been a couple skirmishes, but again, everybody respects each other, so everybody can talk it through. And so far, that's how we've been, and hopefully it will continue this way. This winter is challenging. It really is. Everyone's mostly home, where both of the older folks and my husband are at an increased risk with COVID.
Yep.
I am trying to keep them all home a little bit more. I'm out and about doing what I can and trying to stay as safe as possible and not bring anything home to them. And that's, that's all we can do.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. And, and my mom and Kenny, when they get crazy, they go out for a little while. That's what they have to do.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Kenny takes a lot of rides. He does. He goes out and takes a lot of rides. He knows I don't want him going places right now, but he does. He goes out and he'll like go to a drive-through for lunch or whatever. So he does. He's also an introvert and he needs time to himself. So he does do that, and I kind of push him to do it. And my mom, I'm also pushing to do that, because sometimes she does forget to take care of herself. You know, as caretakers, as we know, caretakers just don't do that. And we're trying to talk my mom into coming on, because I would love, and I think that the discussion between you and her, especially around caregiving, is going to be phenomenal. So, and Jill and my mom have this awesome connection. So stay tuned for that, because I do think that'll be a good one. I do. I think you guys will have a really great conversation.
Yeah. But thank you so much.
Yeah, we've actually, I have to say that we have had a fairly easy adjustment. And I would say that we've been very, very blessed, because I know it's not always like this.
Right.
I have watched other people go through things like this. I have talked to other people. I can't tell you how many people who I told I was doing this to said, "Oh my God, you're crazy. Don't do it."
Yeah, it speaks to your, you know, I think that the level of your evolution, I hate to say, but like everybody in your family, it seems like, kind of went to their highest level to make this, to kind of assess the need and realize, you know, whether putting personal interests aside, I just, like you
trying to make it work for all of us, right? For the greater good kind of thing.
Thank you.
You know, and we watched my parents-in-law, both of my parents, my father-in-law died fairly quickly, but my mother-in-law was sick for several months before she passed, and we watched that. And, you know, so we did have some up close to know what to expect. And there's also a part of dementia with this. Like, my mother-in-law had dementia. My stepfather has dementia, and he goes in and out of some serious delirium, which goes along with dementia too, which that is definitely challenging. And I'll also give a shout out to my kids again, because I think if I were their age and I saw that, I'd be really freaked out, because there are times that he's talking to the ceiling, or, you know, I mean, you never know what to expect. And it's, you know, we try and kind of have a sense of humor about it.
See, I think for your kids, what a beautiful example, just natural living circumstances. This is what happens in the life cycle. There's no hiding these things. It's just right there. And I agree.
I agree. I hope that it's teaching them that. I mean, right now, what it's teaching them is, don't think I'm ever going to do that for you. I'm putting you in a nursing home. That is what I'm hearing right now. But I have to say, when I was 19 or 20, that is absolutely what I would have said to my mother, 100%. So, you know, I'm hopeful. But then again, my mother never expected this. It's not like she said, you know, this is what we want to do. It was like you said, it was an evolution on all of our parts. And it was actually, I think, a harder decision for them than it was for us. Because she didn't want us to feel burdened.
Right.
You know,
That's the mothers.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, I mean, even here, she tries to do everything. And we're like, you know, we're here helping. And so it's tough. It's tough to let go of that caregiving part.
It really, challenges you to see yourself from all different angles and other people as well, you know, getting out of the same roles, and it's pretty interesting. And I think I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it's just our society has not given us enough solutions that are really adequate, and our systems of care there's just such I don't know, black and white, and we aren't black and white people, and we've got to these fluid and flexible ways of finding solutions seems to be what I want to work towards, and what you've done.
I think too, though, that in our society, that if you are elderly or you have a disability, that you are invisible, and most of society would like you to just kind of go to your corner and hang out.
Oh, yeah.
Before I moved them in, I was working at our senior center, and had been blessed to be able to make relationships with a lot of seniors. And again, that was a job I never expected to have, but I believed that I was supposed to be in for so many reasons. But I see, you know, we live in an affluent town, and I see our senior housing, and it's absolutely ridiculous that we live in a town like this, and that our senior housing has stairs. I mean, and I looked at these apartments and I looked at my husband and I said, they're not handicapped accessible. Like we would not have access to those someday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. I
So
can't
yes, Jill,
understand that.
there is definitely a very, very larger, and I think that's what we at TSC Talks are trying to talk about is like, there are so many people in our society being marginalized. And I would say in general, the elderly are definitely part of that marginalized society.
Yep. And we only valued like this middle part, this one part.
Yep.
And if you're anywhere outside of that, then you're really going to have to like find a way to fit yourself into these square pegs into round holes, or you're going to have to find a new way. So
right. Exactly.
Anyways, I think I can't speak highly enough of what you've done, of you as a person and just a mother and daughter and all the roles that you have. Just really great, Lisa.
Thank you.
I am honored to talk to you and have you as a friend.
And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to TSC Talks. Unique, thought-provoking, interesting, fun, and I don't know what else to say, content. And over and out.